It was a beautiful fall day in the late 80s. I was working in the Northfork, about 20 some miles from town. I had a contractor that was seeding roads up in Coal Creek area, and I walked in and seen what he was doing, and he was doing a good job. I kind of reconned, and I walked out further on that road, and there was a steep mountain there. And I decided to go up that mountain and see what was on the other side and look at this basin that we were logging in the areas and putting in roads. So I wanted to see what that basin really looked like from a timber aspect, options for roads in the future. So I went up over that mountain into that basin, and it was a great day, a beautiful day. Made a big loop in a nice basin, a lot of meadows in there. I kind of come out of that basin into kind of a side hill, and in doing so, I come across this piece of rope on the ground, which didn't make much difference because hunters and everybody may have been there once upon a time. But I went about a little further, and I found another chunk of that rope. And then I was really curious, so I started pulling it out of the ground, and golly, it was about 50 foot of rope by the time I got it all coiled up. And then I seen this pile, looked like a pile of feathers, just laying there on the ground, and beside it a bunch of radio gear, 6-8 boxes of radio gear kind of strewed around, and then a spreader bar, a big spreader bar with lights on the end of it, sitting there, and a couple baskets hooked at it with stuff in the middle of them, and kind of a rock encased in rock. I busted a chunk of that rock. It was so strange to see this surprise to me out in the middle of nowhere in a basin. I did take the piece of slag, the rock, with me. I brought out that 50 foot of rope, and I brought out that aluminum box. That aluminum box I took to a electronics expert in the Forest Service. He opened it up, and it was a altimeter, high elevation, low elevation altimeter. I sent a piece of that rock off and had it assayed. This is the rock I had sent off that came back assayed as slag from a gold refinery. Very, very heavy piece of rock. Why did they use that slag from the gold refinery? I did make it out of there, and I always wondered what was there, and I wanted to go back. I did go back a few times. Once I was way too low in the hill, and so that was a wasted trip. I tried to make it in from Moose Lake, not too far away, and got in there too late. Did find the general area, did find a little bit of stuff on that trip. The biggest trip back to where we actually had some success was when Jerry Maureen and Vance Kahn went with me and drove in on an old road network and went in. We did not find the site where I had found before, but we up the hill about 250 feet, we did find what I'm going to say is another part of probably the original drop. But it did find a spreader bar, some strapping again, and the two baskets, and we did bring those out. And that plastic that had encompassed something, a bunch of that plastic was laying there on the ground as if something had been unwrapped from it. And that stuff was just kind of chucked up against a tree, leaned against a tree. And so we brought out some of the rope, some of the strapping, those baskets, and that big spreader bar. We brought those out. Yeah, but that was about 250 feet up the hill from where I'd found the original ones. I do not believe that somebody moved it. I think there was actually two spreader bars, and I think we brought out the second one. We're still wanting to go back and find the first. That's the intriguing one. Hopefully it's still there and solve what that mystery would be. So what happened there? Who dropped this? When did they drop it? Was there something of value in the middle of it? Why did they use slag from a gold refinery? Why did it have two altimeters to turn on gear? Why so many pieces of radio gear? Who did it? Did it come from, was it government? Did it come from, was it weather balloon related? Was it spying or checking or the mystery of just what it was still is with us today. We are kind of gathering a group of folks together that are putting ideas in together and looking at going out and exploring and getting in a camp to this, a horse camp, and finding the rest of that with all the intentions of solving this mystery and bringing it to a conclusion.